Grab a stump. I got a story for you. Few mysteries have inspired more theories than the Dyatlov Pass Incident. Was it an avalanche? A secret military experiment? A deadly encounter with something unknown? Or was it simply a tragic chain of events amplified by the brutal conditions of the Russian wilderness? The mystery began in January 1959, deep inside the northern Ural Mountains of what was then the Soviet Union. 9 hikers would die. No witnesses survived, and the evidence they left behind would spark decades of speculation. At some point during the night of February 1st or early morning February 2nd, something happened. Something so alarming that 9 experienced hikers suddenly abandoned the safety of their tent. Investigators later discovered that the tent had been cut open from the inside, not from the outside. From the inside. Imagine the situation. Outside temperatures approached negative 30 degrees Celsius. The group possessed warm clothing, boots, food, and survival equipment. Yet they left nearly all of it behind. Some fled wearing only socks. Others wore almost nothing at all. Whatever frightened them seemed more dangerous than freezing to death. But the question is, why? The expedition officially began on January 23, 1959. The hikers began their journey by truck and train before eventually ending up on skis. Throughout the journey, they kept detailed diaries and took numerous photographs. Those records provide a surprisingly clear picture of their final days. The mood was cheerful. The hikers joked with one another. They sang songs. They posed for photographs. Nothing suggested the disaster that was approaching. On January 28th, Yuri Yudin became too sick to continue. He said goodbye to his friends and returned home. The remaining 9 continued toward their objective. Over the next several days, weather conditions worsened dramatically. Temperatures plunged far below zero. Powerful winds swept across the mountains. Visibility deteriorated. On February 1st, the group made a navigational error. Rather than moving into a forested area that would have provided shelter, they ended up on the exposed slope of Kholat Sayaka. For reasons still debated today, they decided to set up camp directly on the mountainside. It would be the last decision that they made. Contrary to popular belief, these were not reckless adventurers. They were highly experienced outdoor enthusiasts. The expedition was led by 23-year-old engineering student Igor Dyatlov. The group consisted of, and I'm not going to say their last names because I'll probably butcher them, so we're going to go with the first names. Igor, Zaneta, Rustam, Yuri, another Yuri, Ludmila, Alexander, Semyon, and Nikolai. A 10th member, Yuri Yudin, a 3rd Yuri, would become crucial to the story. He became ill early in the journey and returned home. His decision would save his life. He would later become the only surviving member of the expedition. The hikers were attempting a challenging trek through the northern Ural Mountains, eventually reaching a mountain known as Kholat Sayaka. In the language of the indigenous Mansi people, the name roughly translates to Dead Mountain. Why you would want to, trek a mountain called Dead Mountain is beyond me. An unsettling coincidence that would become famous after the tragedy. But at the time, it was another difficult destination for a group of skilled young adventurers. The hikers were expected to send a telegram upon returning. When no message arrived, concern began to grow. Eventually, search teams were organized. On February 26th, rescuers discovered the abandoned tent. The scene was deeply disturbing. The tent was partially buried by snow. Inside were supplies, food, cameras, journals, boots, and winter clothing. Everything suggested the hikers had left suddenly. Tracks led away from the tent. The footprints appeared orderly. not chaotic. The hikers seemed to have walked away rather than run. The detail would later become important. The tracks descended toward a forest approximately 1.5 kilometers away. Searchers followed them. Soon they made a horrifying discovery. Beneath a cedar tree were the bodies of Yuri and the other Yuri. Both showed signs of severe hypothermia. Nearby evidence suggested they had attempted to build a fire. Branches were broken high above the ground. It appeared one of them had climbed the tree, perhaps searching for the others, perhaps trying to see something in the darkness. But no one knows. Non-experienced hikers entered the most dangerous mountain range on Earth. Weeks later, rescuers found their tent slashed from the inside. Some of the hikers had fled barefoot into the frozen darkness. Others were found with crushed skulls, fractured ribs, and other mysteries that just didn't make sense. For over 60 years, the question has remained the same. What happened on that mountain? This is the story of the Dyatlov Pass Incident. Between the cedar tree and the tent, rescuers found 3 more bodies. First came Igor, then Zaneta, then Rustam. All 3 appeared to be attempting to return to the tent. It was as if they had realized their mistake and tried desperately to reach their supplies. But they never made it. Official examinations concluded that hypothermia caused their deaths. Yet many questions remain unanswered. Why leave the tent? Why separate? Why attempt to return? And where were the 4 remaining hikers? And for months, nobody knew. In May of 1959, rescuers finally found the remaining 4 bodies. They were found in a ravine beneath several meters of snow. Unlike the first victims, these hikers had suffered catastrophic injuries. Ludmila had multiple fractured ribs. Semyon had severe chest trauma. Nikolai had a devastating skull fracture. Investigators compared the force involved to a high-speed car crash. Yet there were almost no external wounds, no signs of a struggle, no evidence of an attack. The injuries were devastating internally while leaving relatively little damage externally. One detail became especially famous. Ludmila's tongue was missing. As investigators examined the evidence, several things became apparent. Some clothing showed traces of radiation. Several witnesses reported strange orange lights in the sky around the time of the incident. The Soviet investigation was abruptly closed. The final conclusion stated that the hikers died because of an unknown compelling force. That phrase would become legendary. What exactly was an unknown compelling force? No explanation was provided. The Soviet government sealed many documents. Naturally, speculation exploded. Over the years, theories multiplied. Avalanches, military weapons tests, escaped prisoners, the Manzi people, Yeti attacks, UFOs, secret government experiments, paranormal entities. The Dyatlov Pass became a magnet for every possible theory imaginable. But how many of those theories actually fit the evidence? More than 60 years later, the Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the world's most unsolved mysteries. The evidence suggests there was probably no monster, no alien encounter, no supernatural force. The most likely explanation is a combination of natural events, human decision-making, extreme weather, and terrible luck. Yet the mystery persists because of one undeniable fact. No one witnessed the final hours. We can reconstruct the evidence, we can build theories, we can make educated conclusions, but we can never know exactly what those 9 hikers saw, heard, or feared on that freezing February night. Their final moments vanished into the darkness of Dead Mountain. And perhaps that is why the story continues to fascinate the world. Not because we know what happened, but because we don't. What do you think happened at Dyatlov Pass? Was it just a tragedy, or was there something more going on? Is there still a missing piece of evidence? Let us know your theory in the comments.